As I walked through the wilderness of this world, I came upon a place with a den. I laid down to sleep, and as I slept, I had a dream. In my dream, I saw a man dressed in rags, standing with his back to his own house. He had a book in his hand and a heavy burden on his back. I watched him open the book and read. As he read, he wept and trembled. Unable to hold it in any longer, he broke down and cried out, "What shall I do?" He went home in this miserable state, trying his best to hide his distress from his wife and children. But his trouble only grew, and eventually he couldn't stay silent. "My dear wife and my sweet children," he confessed, "I am ruined by this heavy burden on me. What's worse, I've learned that our city is going to be burned to the ground with fire from heaven. Unless we can find some way to escape, we are all going to die in the disaster." His family was stunned. They didn't believe him. They just thought some kind of frenzy had gotten into his head. Hoping a good night's rest would settle his brain, they hurried him off to bed. But the night was just as agonizing to him as the day. He couldn't sleep, spending the hours in sighs and tears. In the morning, when they asked how he felt, he told them, "Worse and worse." He tried to talk to them again, but their hearts hardened. They tried to snap him out of it by treating him harshly, sometimes mocking him, sometimes scolding him, and sometimes just ignoring him completely. So, he retreated to his room to pray for them and mourn his own misery. He spent his days walking alone in the fields, reading and praying. One day, while walking in the fields, he was reading his book and feeling that same deep distress. He burst out crying again. "What must I do to be saved?" He looked frantically this way and that, as if he wanted to run, but he stood still because he didn't know which way to go. Just then, a man named Evangelist approached him. "Why are you crying?" he asked. "Sir," the man answered, "I can see from the book in my hand that I am condemned to die, and after that, face judgment. I am not willing to die, and I'm not able to handle the judgment." Evangelist asked, "Why aren't you willing to die, since this life is attended with so many evils?" "Because I fear that this burden on my back will sink me lower than the grave, right into hell," he replied. "If I'm not fit to go to prison, I'm certainly not fit for judgment and execution. Just thinking about it makes me cry." "If that is your condition, why are you standing still?" Evangelist asked. "Because I don't know where to go." Evangelist handed him a parchment scroll. Written inside were the words, "Flee from the wrath to come." The man read it, looked at Evangelist carefully, and asked, "Where must I flee?" Evangelist pointed his finger across a very wide field. "Do you see that narrow gate over there?" "No," the man said. "Do you see the shining light?" Evangelist asked. "I think I do," the man replied. "Keep your eye on that light and go straight toward it," Evangelist instructed. "Then you will see the gate. When you knock on it, you will be told what to do." In my dream, I saw the man begin to run. He hadn't gotten far from his own door before his wife and children saw him and shouted for him to return. But the man plugged his ears with his fingers and kept running, crying, "Life, life, eternal life." He didn't look behind him, fleeing toward the middle of the plain. The neighbors came out to watch him run. Some mocked him, others threatened, and some cried after him to return. Two of them, however, resolved to fetch him back by force. One was named Obstinate, and the other Pliable. By this time, the man had a good head start, but they pursued him and soon overtook him. "Neighbors, why have you come?" the man asked. "To persuade you to go back with us," they said. "That can by no means be," said the man, whose name was Christian. "You live in the city of destruction, the place where I was born. Dying there, sooner or later, you will sink lower than the grave into a place that burns with fire and brimstone. Be content, good neighbors, and come along with me." "What?" Obstinate scoffed. "And leave our friends and comforts behind us?" "Yes," Christian answered. because all that you forsake is not worthy to be compared with a little of what I am seeking to enjoy. If you go with me and hold on, you shall fare just as well as I do. Where I go, there is enough and to spare. Come away and prove my words. What are the things you seek, since you leave all the world to find them? Obstinate demanded. I seek an inheritance that is incorruptible, undefiled, and doesn't fade away, Christian said. It is laid up safely in heaven, to be bestowed at the appointed time on those who diligently seek it. Read it yourself in my book. Nonsense, Obstinate snapped. Away with your book. Will you go back with us or no? No, not I, Christian replied. I have laid my hand to the plow. Obstinate turned to his companion. Come then, neighbor Pliable, let us turn back and go home without him. There is a company of these crazy-headed fools who, when they get a fancy in their heads, think they are wiser than 7 men who can render a reason. But Pliable hesitated. Don't revile him. If what the good Christian says is true, the things he is after are better than ours. My heart inclines to go with my neighbor. What, more fools still? Obstinate groaned. Be ruled by me and go back. Who knows where such a brain-sick fellow will lead you? Go back, be wise. No, come with me, neighbor Pliable, Christian urged. There are such things to be had that I spoke of, and many more glorious things besides. If you don't believe me, read here in this book. For the truth of what is expressed inside, all is confirmed by the blood of him that made it. Well, neighbor Obstinate, Pliable said, I have made my decision. I intend to go along with this good man and cast my lot with him. But my good companion, do you know the way to this desired place? I am directed by a man named Evangelist to hurry to a little gate before us, where we shall receive instructions about the way. Christian explained. Come then, good neighbor, let us be going, Pliable said, and they went both together. And I will go back to my place, Obstinate said. I will be no companion of such misled, fantastical fellows. Now I saw in my dream that when Obstinate went back, Christian and Pliable went talking over the plain. Come, neighbor Pliable, how are you doing? Christian asked. I am glad you were persuaded to go with me. If Obstinate had felt what I have felt of the powers and terrors of the unseen world, he wouldn't have turned his back so lightly. Come, neighbor Christian, since there are none but us two here, tell me more about what the things are, and how they are to be enjoyed, where we are going, Pliable asked. I can better conceive of them with my mind than speak of them with my tongue, Christian admitted. But since you are desirous to know, I will read of them in my book. And do you think that the words of your book are certainly true? Yes, verily. For it was made by him that cannot lie, Christian said. Well said, what things are they? There is an endless kingdom to be inhabited, and everlasting life to be given us, that we may inhabit that kingdom forever, Christian said. Well said, and what else? There are crowns of glory to be given to us, and garments that will make us shine like the sun in the heaven. This is very pleasant, and what else? There shall be no more crying or sorrow, for he that is owner of the place will wipe all tears from our eyes. And what company shall we have there? Pliable asked. There we shall be with angels, creatures that will dazzle your eyes to look at. We will meet with 10,000s who have gone before us to that place. None of them are hurtful, but loving and holy, walking in the sight of God. We shall see the elders with golden crowns, and men who were cut to pieces, burned in flames, and drowned in the seas, for the love they bore to the Lord of the place. They will all be well, clothed with immortality as with a garment. The hearing of this is enough to ravish one's heart, Pliable said. But are these things truly to be enjoyed? How shall we become sharers of them? The Lord, the governor of the country, has recorded that in this book, Christian said. The substance is, if we be truly willing to have it, he will bestow it upon us freely, "Well, my good companion, glad am I to hear these things," Pliable cheered. "Come on, let us mend our pace." "I cannot go as fast as I would," Christian sighed, "because of this burden on my back." Just as they ended this talk, they drew near to a very miry slough in the midst of the plain. Being heedless, they both suddenly fell into the bog. The name of the slough was Despond. Here they wallowed for a time, getting grievously covered in dirt. And Christian, because of the burden on his back, began to sink in the mire. "Ah, neighbor Christian, where are you now?" Pliable yelled. "Truly," Christian said, "I do not know." At this, Pliable became offended and angrily said to his fellow, "Is this the happiness you have told me of all this while? If we have such ill speed at our first setting out, what may we expect between this and our journey's end? If I get out of here with my life, you shall possess the brave country all alone." With a desperate struggle or two, he got out of the mire on the side of the slough next to his own house. So away he went, and Christian saw him no more. Christian was left to tumble in the slough of despond alone. Still, he endeavored to struggle to the side of the slough that was further from his house, and next to the wicket gate. He reached it, but he couldn't get out because of his burden. But in my dream, a man named Help came to him. "What are you doing there?" Help asked. "Sir, I was bid to go this way by a man called Evangelist, who directed me to yonder gate that I might escape the coming wrath," Christian explained. "And as I was going thither, I fell in here." "But why didn't you look for the steps?" Help asked. "Fear followed me so hard that I fled the nearest way and fell in." "Give me your hand," Help said. He drew him out, set him upon sound ground, and bid him go on his way. Then I stepped up to the man who pulled him out and asked, "Sir, since this is the way from the city of destruction to yonder gate, why isn't this plot mended, so poor travelers might go with more security?" "This miry slough is a place that cannot be mended," he said. "It is the descent where the scum and filth that attends the conviction for sin continually runs. Therefore, it is called the slough of despond. As a sinner is awakened to his lost condition, many fears, doubts, and discouraging apprehensions arise in his soul, and they all settle in this place. That is the reason for the badness of this ground. It is not the king's pleasure that this place should remain so bad. His laborers have been employed for above 1,600 years about this patch of ground. Millions of wholesome instructions from all over the king's dominions have been swallowed up here, the best materials to make good ground. But it is the slough of despond still, and always will be. True, there are certain good and substantial steps placed right through the middle of the slough. But when the weather changes and this place spews out its filth, these steps are hardly seen. Even if they are seen, men step beside them through the dizziness of their heads, and then they are bemired. But the ground is good once they get in at the gate." Now I saw in my dream that by this time Pliable had gotten back home. His neighbors came to visit him. Some called him a wise man for coming back, and some called him a fool for hazarding himself with Christian. Others mocked his cowardice, saying, "Surely since you began to venture, I would not have been so base to have given out for a few difficulties."